Welcome, everyone. I am Chandni from the GDS Secretariat, and I'm very excited to introduce you to the person who would be shaping and designing the conversations at the GDS 2025, which will be the largest gathering on disability rights in the world. Please welcome Caroline Casey, who will be one of the moderators at the upcoming summit. Thank you so much for joining us today, Caroline. We are super thrilled to have you on board.
Thank you, Chandy, for having me. I think I just want to start with an audio description, if that's okay, for anybody else like me who is low vision, registered blind. So I have very white hair. I'm 53 years old. I'm wearing an electric lemon velvet jacket, big, thick black glasses, very white, pale skin, a blue turtleneck, and yellow and blue earrings. So that gives you sort of sense of who I am.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Would you also like to talk about a little bit about yourself and the great work that you've been doing to give some more context to our audiences who would be joining us in Berlin for the summit and also online?
Well, I can't wait for this summit. As you said, it's one of the biggest gathering of human rights and disability on the globe. And I can't wait to be there, whether people are online or whether they're physically in Berlin. I've been in the space as a disability activist, troublemaker, and campaigner for 25 years now. And that marks when I came out of the disability closet when I was working at Accenture as a management consultant. I've always truly believed to end the global disability exclusion crisis. It is a crisis of inequity and inequality for people with disabilities and their families around the globe. I truly believe business has to be intentionally and accountably at the table. I kind of have this real sense that as business is one of the most powerful forces on the planet, what business values and includes society will follow. And that is not to take away from the huge work that's been done in other stakeholder groups. It's just that we really do need business. And so all of the work that I have done for the last 25 years that has put lines on my faces is been really engaging business and mainly business leaders, because it's the choices these business leaders make create the culture and the accountability within the business. And the most recent thing that I have been known for was my biggest audacious move ever. And that was to create and co-found the Valuable 500, which was launched on the World Economic Forum main stage of Davos in 2019. And it was to get 500 of the world's most influential CEOs to take a personal commitment to scaling, accelerating, and improving disability performance in their business. And we did create it in 2 years and 2 months. And now we're the biggest CEO collective in the world after UN Global Compact. So that gives you a bit of an idea about me and my troublemaking.
That sounds really great, Caroline, something that's much, much needed. And as you've been a powerful voice for disability inclusion in businesses, in your opinion, what role does partnerships play between corporations and OPDs in achieving sustainable disability inclusion?
Well, I don't think business can design anything for people with disabilities without engaging meaningfully with the disability community. It's absolutely essential. You know, we've heard the expression, nothing about us without us. And then Yasmin LaRoche said, nothing about us. And I like to kind of even challenge it, without us, nothing at all. Because if you don't partner with disability organizations, you think you know what you're speaking about. It's essential that the voice and the experience in all of its global context is part of the design and part of the accountability and part of the targets and the measurements of disability performance in business. What we ask business to do is we don't ask you to have the answers, but we certainly don't expect you to say, it's not our business. Disability is all our business. And what we're asking you to do is to open up and to learn from the organizations who are working on the ground to see the innovation, the opportunity for growth, the differentiation this community brings meaningfully to business.
Absolutely. Well said. And as you were mentioning about this amazing, the valuable 500 that you founded, you've really built a movement that pushes how major corporations rethink their engagement with disability. So, over the last few years, what's this one shift that or multiple shifts that you've witnessed in corporate attitudes towards disability inclusion that gives you hope for the future?
Well, I think the thing I'm so proud of is that when we began the Valuable 500, I mean, people really thought that that was it, absolutely impossible. But it was so essential. The CEO silence on disability inclusion and performance in business needed to be ended. So for me, breaking that, blasting through that silence was possibly the most scary and at times challenging. But what it did, it has opened up the conversations and brought disability into the C-suite and the boardrooms. So what I have seen over the last few years is there's no longer an acceptance to say, oh, no, disability, that's HR's job, or that is something that we do for our not-for-profit work. It is actually opening it up to a broader conversation that disability should be strategically weaved through the business. And the biggest, I believe, thing that's changed was having the Valuable 500 and COVID at the same time, which brought into really clear focus the need for accessibility. And that accessibility in its broadest term is how I believe that we will be able to continue to grow and to deepen the work about disability performance. Now, that being said, it still isn't easy. And certainly in the environment that we're in at the moment, where we're hearing about rollbacks and pushbacks, I actually believe disability representation and accessibility more so can be the greatest unifier for global inclusion, because as we've always said, disability is in every single group of human beings. It does not discriminate. It is completely intersectional. And so for me, I think having opened the heads and the hearts of business leaders, we now have a younger generation to hold them to account and an opportunity to unify together around accessibility.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that really comes out from our last conversation is this importance on collective action across sectors and industries. So, from your experience, what do you think is the most important element in creating a lasting systematic change? And how can we ensure that this momentum continues at the GDS 2025 and even beyond? So, can you share like a specific example from or a specific corporate practice or policy that resulted from your work and can inspire similar conversations at the GDS?
Well, thank you, Shandy. I'm obsessed with radical collaboration and collective action. These problems that we face in the world are simply too big to have one hero or one sector or one government or one CEO or one celebrity. We have to work together if we need to break a system. And we have to break the system to build back up again. And we have to look at the actual system barriers, not the easy stuff, not the campaigns, but actually tackling significant barriers which stop the progress to change. So just to talk about the Valuable 500, because it's the thing I know, is we went out to the disability community and our Valuable 500 companies and said, look, we want to drive sustainable system change. What's stopping you? Like, what is the hardest thing that we can do? Because our magic in the valuable 500 is in the many, right? So what is it we need to do? And we identified three big system barriers that we're seeing dents on now, right? So the three system barriers we needed to tackle is, why is there no disabled talent or very little disabled talent in the top levels of business? Why are we not reporting on disability performance in annual reports? And what about the representation of people with disabilities in corporate communications, media communications, and advertising? It is not accessible, it is not authentic, and it is not accurate. So these three problems, the valuable 500 can give an example, because, okay, we're the valuable 528, but everybody can be involved, right? It's to get organizations in the world to do what we call synchronized collective action, doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time and reporting on it with an accountable timeline on a problem. So our companies are doing those three things: inclusive reporting, inclusive leadership, and inclusive representation. And we have set them a goal, and they all have to do it at exactly the same time, the same way, take the ego out of the room, and they have to report on it on the 3rd of December in 2025 of this year. So what I could share with us in the Global Disability Summit, our power is in our numbers. And everybody has a different way of approaching it. But whatever we choose, if we are clear, if we are focused, if we are simple on an action and focus that energy and have that success and give it a deadline, whatever it is that we do, whether it's in inclusive development aid, whether it's in business, we can achieve it if we all choose to work together, leaving the ego out of the room, not just analyzing the problem, but what steps that we can make together, because it's really hard. And I think we have to remember the multiplier effect of every single voice, the cumulative effect, the butterfly effect, no matter if you are a leader or an individual working in a not-for-profit or a person who is an influencer or an advocate. It is joining forces in one clear goal.
Thank you so much. And that really reminds me of the tagline that we have for the GDS, over a billion reasons to commit to change.
That's so I don't know. I'm a massive Lady Gaga lover, and she had a song going, "Give me a million reasons to stay." And I often say, well, it's like, give us a billion reasons to continue. And it's more than a billion. It's every single person on this planet is affected by it. And when we bring aging, we have billions of reasons, 8 billion reasons to get this right.
Absolutely. And what do you think, like, despite all of the progress that we've been making, as you mentioned, what do you think the companies and businesses still underestimate when it comes to disability inclusion, and how can the GDS serve as a catalyst for driving more significant business commitments?
Business still underestimate our ability to drive growth into their companies. We are a market with the 1.3 billion and a mother and a father. That's 54% of our global economy, and that's before we talk about age. We are a market. They underestimate that. They underestimate our absolutely extraordinary ability to drive innovation into their products and services. I can't understand how they don't see that a different experience differentiates a product and a service. And also, they don't see that this talent can help serve that market. They underestimate our value, our power, and our scale, and our resilience, and our solution mindset.
Thank you for bringing that to the table, Caroline. And how do you think that the GDS can inspire more businesses to commit to change and step up?
It's not even about inspiring anybody anymore. Without us, nothing. Business leaders sit in positions of privilege. They run organizations that need to represent the world we operate in. It feels like I would love to get those 500 CEOs and government leaders together. They can share what can be done. We need to have really strong targets together of what we want to achieve. We need to hold each other to account. We need to measure ourselves, and we need to celebrate what we are doing well. And we cannot use that this problem is too big or too difficult or too complex, a reason not to try. I would rather that we try and failed and learned from that so that we can actually have progress. The Global Disability Summit is backed by some of the most important leaders in the world. It's hosted by Germany and Jordan. Leaders talk to leaders. When they make a decision, they hold each other to account. This can't just be about conversations anymore. If we come out of the Global Disability Summit, I don't even care if it is three commitments that we can work together as a community, whatever stakeholder group we're part of. But we hold ourselves to account and we measure ourselves and we communicate the momentum that we build as we go. And that this is not just a summit and when the doors are shut and we all go home, that we are forgotten about, that we have a way to monitor ourselves online, to hold ourselves accountable through communication. And I do think that's what the Global Disability Summit can do, because it's global outreach. And disability experience is so different in so many different parts of the world. But what is essential is we do experience the same exclusion, inequality, and equity that is no longer acceptable.
Thank you. And I think this is really what the GDS commitments mechanism is all about, getting different stakeholders to make actionable, sustainable commitments that could then be monitored by not just these stakeholders, but also OPDs who are so central to the whole mechanism. So thank you for raising that. Thank you for your time and your insights, Caroline. We hope to see you in Berlin very soon. And we also hope that this conversation today does inspire some businesses to step forward and commit to change.
Well, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see you all. I'm sorry for the coughing. And yeah, I just think everybody, as we come to this Global Disability Summit, let's each of us think about a way that we can do it individually, because no idea is too small and no voice is too small. But at the heart of it is the experience of OPDs and the disability community. And we're waiting here to learn just as much as anybody else.
Thank you, Caroline. And for those of you watching us today, stay tuned for more such conversations and interviews with the change makers of the GDS. See you next time.